to Napoli talk, guys. There's a bitter taste in my mouth after this game. Not just after this game, guys, but also after watching Milan Inter a few hours before, where it really felt like today was a chance to go 6 points ahead of Inter with them having one game in hand, let's say 3 points. And then in the end, we are back to square one, guys, because Inter managed to get a late goal in their game, and we conceded a goal very late in our game. And Sunday night ends exactly the way that Sunday started, with Inter and Napoli still locked in, mathematically, hypothetically speaking, with the same number of points, guys. But this was a golden chance for Napoli to put a bit of a buffer between us, guys. And look, we can't do anything about Inter's game, obviously, but we could have done more about Napoli's game, right? We could have still gone a few points above them had we won. And I don't know, losing that goal. I mean, I say losing because that's the word that comes to my mind, but we didn't lose, we drew. Drawing this game in the final moments, it's tough to swallow, man. It's tough to swallow because this is a team that I think can do so much better in terms of controlling the game when you're away from home, you're against a good Roma team, but you have the quality in the players to control the game, right? You can do it with Lobotka. Maybe it was this type of game where you bring on Gilmore. You're away from home, you want to keep the ball, you replace maybe Anguissa or Scott McTominay with Gilmore, and you have a bit more, a double pivot in the game. You pass the ball around a little bit more, you control the game. But in the end, we made three subs that didn't contribute, that actually, I think, negatively affected the game. Mazzocchi, Raspadori, and Simeone. I think, it forced us to go into a five at the back, a 5-3-2, and we just conceded space to Roma, guys. Very defensive minded substitution. I can't explain it. I can't explain it because I think we have players in the midfield, especially, that we could have brought on that could have helped us control the last 5 minutes a bit better. And I'm not saying to take off Anguissa or McTominay or any of these guys with 20, 30 minutes to go in the game. I'm talking about the last 5 minutes. When a team like Roma is going to try to, dominate possession in the middle, I think we could have brought on a guy like Billing, who's 2 meters tall, who can, wrestle his way around the midfield. We could have brought in a guy like Gilmore, who could play that double pivot with Lobotka, and they just pass the ball between the two of them for 5 minutes. Surely they're able to do that. Why are we bringing on Raspadori? Who this is not the type of game for Raspadori, guys. It's the same reason why we didn't bring him on against Atalanta away from home. These are physical teams. This is the type of game where you need centimeters, you need muscle. You don't need Raspadori away from home when you're winning the game already 1-0. Fine, if you want to score a goal, you bring him on. But if you're winning 1-0, you bring on guys that know how to control the ball, that don't waste it, guys that have muscle and height like Billing. But bringing on Raspadori for me didn't make a lot of sense. Simeone, fine. It's just a like for like with Lukaku. And then Mazzocchi. I mean, it was a bit defensive minded from Conte. Fair enough. It worked other times, bringing on Mazzocchi, but not the way that he was brought on today. Because other times, guys, Mazzocchi was brought on. Like, for example, against Atalanta, Mazzocchi was brought on to play forward. He was basically a right winger. This time he wasn't brought on to do that. He was brought on in a much more defensive minded way. And yeah, we just soaked up too much pressure from Roma. And I think this was totally avoidable. But this is also a situation that we find ourselves in, guys, because it's the 30. Hey, I was gonna say 31st of January. It's not. It's the 2nd of February, guys. My mind thinks that the mercato ends in the 31st of January, like old times, but no. We even have an extra 3 days compared to normal. It's the 2nd of February. In Europe, in 40 minutes, it will be the 3rd, so the final day of the mercato, and we still don't have someone that can replace, I'll say, Neres, because look, it's clear that Kvara's replacement is Neres. So what we need is a Neres replacement, and we don't have that. And that limited us today, because had we brought on someone on the wing to replace Neres that had a forward thinking approach to the game, Roma wouldn't have been able to put so many bodies in our half. We would have given them something to think about. So yeah, like I like that Daniel Lofgren and Ollie, they're saying it's a good point. Miguel agrees. Guys, the boys know what they're talking about. All right, these are people that study Napoli day in day out. They never appear on the chat, but they're my boys from the Curva in Napoli. And they know exactly, if they say that they agree with this, then it's facts, boys. Let me get to some other comments, guys, up at the top of the chat. Olis says, good game. I felt the draw was probably deserved, but when Roma scored, it still stung. But still, managing 7 points from Atalanta, Juve, and Roma back to back is not bad at all. Yeah, look, if you had told me 3 games ago we would have gotten 7 out of 9, I would have signed up to that. It's just the way it happened is not great, with us being 2 minutes away from 9 out of 9 points, guys. By the way, I do want to apologize for doing this live once again without any of the screenshots, without any of the big fancy things around me, but I am still traveling. But next live, we'll be back with the desktop setup and all that kind of fancy stuff for you guys. The metaphysician says, first half outstanding, second half we did defensively well. My only criticism will remain that Conte does not see his tired wingers and doesn't want to replace them earlier. From the 65th minute, we forgot to play in front. Yeah, man. Look, that's the thing about Conte, is that he just doesn't see the bench at all, right? He doesn't want to trust the players that are on the bench. And the few that he trusts, like Mazzocchi, Simeone, they just are not players that change the dynamic of the game. For example, he trusts Simeone, but Simeone is not going to give you anything different from Lukaku, right? Not anything significantly different. In fact, you might actually lose a reference point that Lukaku gives you up top. And okay, maybe Simeone gives you a bit more grinta, a bit more, fighting spirit and all that. But he doesn't offer you, for example, the type of striker that you'll say, okay, now we bring on Simeone and we can make better runs in behind the defense, or we can cross the ball and he'll get the header. Like, he doesn't really give you that many more attacking options than what you had with Lukaku. Mazzocchi, he's not someone that's going to change a game for you. We talked about Raspadori. It's not the type of guy you want to bring on away from home, in my opinion. Definitely not when you're already winning the game. So, the few guys that Conte uses, I don't think they're guys that change games. They are guys that are reliable, that do the job, but they don't give anything extra, right? And that's really the problem with Napoli's bench right now, is that we're so flat. There is no change of pace. There is no change of direction. There's nothing that really we can bring on that surprises the other team, or that will help us put them on the back foot. all the changes are either to keep the status quo or go more defensive, right? And look, sometimes you have to make changes, even when you're winning 1-0. You have to make changes that, allow you to keep the other guys on the back foot. It's the best way to defend, to, make attacking changes. Let me get to Dom's comment. He says Lukaku got shut down in this game. This was a game we needed him to show up today. We hit the woodwork, and McTominay missed two good chances to score. We just didn't have the game on our side. Uh, yeah, look, we did hit the woodwork. I think it was a pretty lucky woodwork anyways, because it was a scruffy shot from Lukaku and then it hit the woodwork. McTominay did miss two big chances. I think it wasn't his best game under that point of view, which surprised me because we've come to see that that McTominay is such a clinical guy in front of goal. But I think the game went against us in the first half with the referee. Look, I don't like to speak about referees, right? But when you book Politano for diving, okay? And then it's very clear that there was contact. Not only did you mess up because you didn't give a penalty, but you messed up twice because you gave a yellow card. And it's one of those things where had the referee not given a yellow card, okay, then he would have just said play on, then the VAR maybe might not intervene because it says, you know what, it's not a clear and obvious mistake. He saw from the field that it was a 50-50 and, we move on. Fine. But when the referee gives a yellow card for simulation, and it very clearly is not simulation because there's contact, then that for me becomes a clear and obvious mistake from the referee, and VAR has to intervene, at least to get rid of the yellow card. At least to get rid of the yellow card, because that yellow card, what ended up happening was that it conditioned Napoli. It led also to Politano being subbed off, maybe. We don't know for sure, right? But it definitely had some downstream effects, and then we end up with conceding a goal, right? Then there was that shove on McTominay that, for me, that's a penalty. That's anytime that a guy is running full speed, heading towards goal, and you push him from the back, for me, that's a penalty. It doesn't matter how light you touch him. You have no reason to touch the guy. If you're behind, you are able to control your speed in such a way that you don't collide into the guy. If you collide into the guy, you better make sure that it's shoulder to shoulder. That was clearly not shoulder to shoulder. For me, that's a stonewall penalty. And there was another incident that was, borderline as well with McTominay in that first half. And look, I think, I don't want to talk about referees, but I think that definitely influenced the game a little bit, because we could have been maybe 2 goals up, and then that would have been a completely different game. But yeah, I think aside from that, guys, aside from the whole refereeing thing, I think we could have done a lot better with our subs. Maximus says we look like the team that played midweek and sitting in 9th. ADL needs to make moves tomorrow. Yeah, that's something that shocked me. It's how Roma had... It felt they had a lot more in the tank than us in the last, let's say, 10 minutes or so, maybe even more. Apart from, some moments in the second half where I thought, wow, okay, we are actually, in pretty good shape. Towards the end, it did feel like Roma were in better condition than us. It's true that Roma played a lot of guys that are not even starters. So they did do a bit of a turnover. And look, even though we don't play midweek games, it's something that I said last weekend, right? Even though we don't play midweek games, it's not like Conte's training sessions are easy or light. You best believe that on Tuesday or Wednesday, Conte is giving them the equivalent of a 90-minute game as training. You better believe that, because I cannot imagine Conte's trainings being light. And by the way, the people that do play in the end the Champions League and Europa League, their trainings are light because they have already that midweek game, and so they're just doing recovery, right? On the Friday, on the Tuesdays or whatever, right? I can totally see these guys, getting pushed to the absolute limit every day by Conte. So it's not like we're there, just chilling for 5 days. I think what's true is that we can definitely prepare games better. We can work more on the tactics. We can work more on things like studying the opponent, looking at more videos, all that kind of stuff. I think that's what helps. I don't buy the whole, oh, we should be fresher. I think Conte's training sessions are intense. What not having a midweek game should help us in is more so on the tactical side. I think on the team chemistry side, on that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, look, in the end, probably we need to think that this team is not big enough, to do a full season at such high levels against, by the way, a very good Roma team, right? Um, we lack a lot of players, and even if we only play once a week, this team just doesn't have depth, and these players are starting maybe to feel that. And there's a reason why Conte gave them 3 days of holiday actually this week. I don't think it was just a reward for their great work against Atalanta and Juventus. I think he recognized that these players are pretty tired. So yeah. Paul says, fair play to Roma. They showed great spirit to come back. However, it's a missed opportunity, just the way football goes sometimes. On the positive side, I thought Politano was outstanding tonight. Yeah, he's been good in recent weeks. Hopefully Fiorentina can help us out next week, says Maximus 1318. Good to see that Fiorentina won against Genoa, because I mean this team was in free fall, Fiorentina. So we need them to be picking up points, picking up confidence, because they're facing Inter very soon. Moise Kean scored. I trust and I hope that they will at least give Inter a fight. I still think Inter will come away with that, because I don't think Inter will screw up 2 games in a row. Um, but at least this Fiorentina side from this weekend seems a bit more in they seem a bit more solid than maybe the Fiorentina that we saw in December or early January, which is a good thing considering that they're playing Inter. Helcom says, would have been a great opportunity to go +5, but don't let this match define the last month. Yeah, guys, we had a great January, guys. We had a great January, but look, now it's February, right? And we just got to make sure that now we put this to the side. It's not the end of the world. It's not, I'm not here saying Scudetto over. We're still in the fight. It's still okay. This is a very good Roma side, guys. A very good Roma side at home. They were coming off the back of 7 straight wins at home. So no drama. Guys, no drama that we lost 2 points here. Away from home against Roma, it's hard for everybody, okay? At least with Ranieri on the bench. So no drama, guys. What I do want to do is make sure that when Conte comes on and speaks about the game, I want to make sure that I have his reaction as well. But first, a few more comments from you guys. Payment says, I can't join today, but beyond everything, I blame De Laurentiis. There is no bench. The players were out of energy from minute 60, and Mazzocchi to blame for the goal. Yeah, Mazzocchi, disappointing that you bring on a defender and he screws up defensively by allowing Angelino free. I mean, man, it's your job to mark that guy. I don't know what he was thinking there. And yeah, I think this loss you could attribute it to De Laurentiis because we didn't have many options on the wing, on the bench, and so Conte was a bit limited with what he could bring on. Um, even though I think even with such a limited bench, having been 1-0 up with 5-10 minutes to go, like I said at the start of the video, there were other changes that could have been done to keep more possession of the game, and not sit so deep. Again, why not bring Gilmore? It was clear that Lobotka, Anguissa, and McTominay, they needed a bit of a rest. One of those three could have come off, and you bring in Gilmore, and you have a bit more energy in the middle of the park. I would have kept Lobotka and played Gilmore and done a double pivot, to be honest, and just have those two just pass the ball around between them. That's what I would have done, to be honest, for 5 minutes. I think we have to have more options. We need to plan for more options than just the three midfielders that we have. We need more combinations. One of the reasons why I was so excited for Gilmore at the start of the season was because I thought he would allow us this extra kind of combination where we could play with Lobotka and Gilmore together. Sometimes, like how, for example, Arsenal plays with Rice and Jorginho, for example. Just two midfielders. They sit back, just pass the ball, control the game between themselves. Just you need that sometimes when you just want to focus on quality, right? You're winning the game. You don't want to push. Just keep the ball. Um, but yeah, look, guys, it was not to be today. Paul says Inter stole a point and Napoli lost two. It feels like defeat, but it isn't. Look, I don't know if Inter stole a point. They were pretty unlucky to not have scored earlier, in my opinion. They hit the woodwork twice. So, look, I think that game with Milan, it was a fair result. It would have been nice had they not gotten a draw, but I think a point is a fair result. Napoli Nation TV says no reason to freak out. This will just make them focus more, not worried even a little. This match makes a real difference in the Scudetto race. The difference will be that first weekend in March. Yeah, guys, and also if there is one time to drop points, it's this weekend. It's the weekend that Inter drop points because I think psychologically it would have been very, very, very tough for Napoli had we dropped points and Inter would have gotten the 3 points. Then they would have been, let's say, hypothetically above us in the standings, and then the entire sort of confidence towards winning the Scudetto might have taken a big hit. Now it's just like as if nothing happened. Okay. Yeah, it was a chance to extend. We didn't extend, but we didn't lose, right? So it's okay. De Laurentiis needs to step it up and get it done, says Lewis. Yeah, man, agreed. Lawrence Moore says the approach was all wrong. It was inevitable that we were going to concede after defending the 1-0. Yeah, the approach was too timid, too defensive from Conte, guys. And as Napoli Nation TV says, one of the things we need to take away from this match is that we need an extra winger. Yeah, guys, let me get to. There's a lot of comments, guys. There's a lot. Lorenzo says Inter was missing a penalty as well tonight. I don't think so, man. I don't think so. Look, Inzaghi is complaining about that challenge on Thuram. I think that's a clean clean tackle by Teo Hernandez, man. If that's the one that you're thinking about, I think, that's a hard tackle, but it's a clean tackle. So, yeah. But overall, guys, I think, it was it was probably fair that Inter got that point. It's not like they stole something at the end. Guys, I want to say thank you as well to Louis C for the $4.99 donation. Says, without one or two new signings, I don't think Napoli wins the Scudetto. Need more depth. Guys, yeah, this can't go on. Um, I mean, hypothetically, had we still had Kvara today, let's say that he started the game. Let's say that for whatever reason we were 1-0 up, then you take Kvara off in the 70th minute and you bring Neres on. Could you imagine what a fresh Neres would have been able to do against this Roma side with 20 minutes to go? He would have wreaked so much havoc that it would have been impossible for Roma then to go and put so much pressure on us, on our defense. They would have had to think about how to deal with Neres, with a fresh Neres. And that's, I think, the issue, of um, not having the numbers, right? I mean, it's not even that we need someone that's to the same level as Kvara. I think we just need a winger, so that Conte can bring him on, and whoever is the right back for the other team has something to worry about. It doesn't have to be a world class winger. It just has to be someone that's good enough that will keep that right back in check, right? But right now we don't have anybody. We don't have anybody, right? And I think it's weird to think that we are so late into the transfer market and we still don't have something resolved. And the situation that we're trying to resolve right now, it's very complicated because Saint Maximin, guys, he's someone that, he's a player for a Saudi club. Their transfer market is officially closed, but he's on loan to Fenerbahce, and so three clubs need to get some kind of agreement to like break that first loan with Fenerbahce. And I mean, it's complicated. I cannot believe or think that there was not an easier solution. And look, I like the player. I like Sam Maximan, right? But it's risky. It's risky. With this is not the type of deal you do with 1 day left to go in the transfer market, because if that paperwork does not come through, then what happens, right? I'm sure there was maybe an option out there for 20, 30 million that would have been okay. That would have been simple. I think, for example, you could have gone to Bologna and gotten Ndoye for 30 million. And yeah, is he this phenomenal player? No, but he's someone that I think still can, come off the bench and have an impact, and if we agree that Neres can be the Kvara replacement, then I think Ndoye could be the Neres replacement, which means just someone that you bring on for 20 minutes at a time, you know? But yeah, very, very strange situation. But yeah, look, I like the thing of Sam Maximan. I I think I played with him when I was younger. So I think I told you guys that I played against Marcos Thuram when I was younger. I can't remember if I played as well with Sam Maximan. But yeah, I can't remember. I like friends tell me that we played against him, but I can't remember that. But Thuram, yeah. But man, it would have been it would be cool to see him in a Napoli shirt, and then I would have to just double check on that piece of on that fact with those friends. Simeone, like Saint Maximan, just with his pace, would have eaten that bum alive. Yeah, look, Saint Maximan, I think if there's one thing about him is that he's got pace, and I think in the Serie A he would do well. He would do well. Look, I have nothing against the player. I think he would do well. I think he can make an impact. What I have something against is why we're doing it now when it's so risky. You know, if it goes well, if we get him tomorrow, fine. You know, a bit late, but fine. You know, better late than never. I just don't know why Napoli is having this kind of approach, spending 5 million on salary, and then we don't even get the player, right? Um, well, 5 million, 4 million on loan, 4 to 5 million on loan, and then 4 million on salary, and then we don't even get the player. It feels like a very Juventus slash Inter type of deal, the type of thing you do when you're financially constrained. But Napoli has the economic power to do better than that, and we need to think that every transfer market is potentially a market for us to make improvements and make steps. Um, but yeah, I think it's a wasted transfer market. It's a waste of 6 months. Because we have to wait until June to make the next improvement. And I think if you're gonna make, if you're thinking, look, we need to make transformations to this team, then I don't know why it's any different doing it now versus in June. Unless you have fears that Conte might leave, but if you're certain that Conte is going to stay, then you might as well make him happy now, right? Because the problem, as Conte says, the problem's going to come back anyways in June, where you're going to have to buy a player that he likes for a lot of money. Um, so yeah, Birlingo says, "Am I in Naples?" No, I'm not in Naples. I'm from Naples, but I played against some of these guys from the French league and all that because I grew up in high school in France. So I think I played against Saint Maximin. I've definitely played against Marcus Thuram. But no, I'm not in Naples at the moment. Uh, Speedy Box says San Maximan finished. I don't think so, man. I think he's still got it in him. I think he's still got it in him. Especially, I think in the Serie A, he can make a difference because he's got that pace, he's got the skill. It's a different type of player from what we're used to. I think he can be good. But look, let's see. Let's see. Helcom says, we never heard of that story, Dom. Were you trying to go pro when you were young? No. So I broke my ACL when I was 14. So I was very far off from being pro because when you break your ACL when you're 14, that's it. But I used to go to, so I grew up in Paris. I grew up in Paris. I did my high school in Paris. I grew up in Asia, but my high school was in Paris. And there's this neighborhood outside of Paris, which is called Boulogne. It's like in between Paris and the suburbs, and that's where all the like North African kids go and play football, right? So I was playing with like all the Algerians, Moroccans, and all that, and I loved going there because these guys were so skillful, right? Like super skillful. And in that neighborhood, there's this football school called ACBB, okay? And in this school, some of the best talents in France come out, right? So Marcus Thuram played there, Saint Maximin played there, um, And what they would do is after their training sessions, they would continue, they would stay on, and or maybe like I don't know, if I went there on the Saturday or Sunday, they would do like personal training on top of the one of their club, and we would play like pickup football, right? So like I didn't play against them in official sort of games, but we played pickup kind of football. Same happened in Naples, right? When I go back to Naples in the summer, I played against Verdi. So yeah, no, I had the chance of like playing again, like comparing myself against some of these guys. I think I could have done Serie C, to be honest, at least, but not with the injury. But not with the injury. But Serie C, I think would have been doable. Uh, let's see. Enough about me, guys. Let's go back to the game. Paul says, if Napoli don't make a reasonably big signing, questions need to be asked. There's a rare chance to win a Scudetto. Yeah, man. Look, but you have to then ask yourself exactly: does this team, does De Laurentiis want to win a Scudetto? Or does he just care about the Champions League? And if the Scudetto comes, fine, I'll take it. But does De Laurentiis want to win want to win a Scudetto? Because do you remember what happened last time we won a Scudetto? Last time we won a Scudetto, it was only problems for De Laurentiis. Okay, because look, from an economic point of view, he didn't gain much, right? Because it's the same sort of money if you're first or fourth by the league. Maybe $2 million or euros here and there, but not much. Champions League money is the same. Sponsors, did we get any big new sponsors that really tipped the balance? No. We stayed with MSC. Yeah, we got Coca-Cola, but how much are they bringing in? They're not bringing in 30, 40, 50 million, you know? These are not like winning the Scudetto didn't bring a huge economic impact. The only thing it gave De Laurentiis was headaches because now, after a Scudetto, what the players wanted was higher salaries because we won the Scudetto, so we deserve more. And once you win a Scudetto, if you don't want a higher salary, maybe you just want to leave because you say, look, I did my job here. Now I want a new challenge. I won the Serie A. Now I want to win the Premier League. Now I want to win La Liga. Now I want to win Bundesliga. They want to do other things in their life because they know that probably if they stay in Napoli, they're not gonna go and fight for the Champions League, right? So there's no point in them staying if they've already reached, let's say, the maximum result that they can with this team. So it only brings headaches for De Laurentiis. Whereas if you finish third, if you finish second, you can keep a player because you can say, but you almost won. Stay one more year, and next year you'll win it. You dangle the carrot in front of their face, and you keep them at the club. You don't have to go buy new players. You don't have to give them a raise because they didn't deserve it. They didn't go and win anything. So look, I think De Laurentiis, if the Scudetto comes, he won't stop it, but he's not aiming for it. He's not aiming for it. Is Roma more popular than Napoli in Italy, says Louis C? No, I think in terms of popularity of football clubs, it's probably Juve, Inter Milan tied. Oh, Juve first, Inter Milan tied, then Napoli, then Roma, and then Lazio. I think it's tight, but I think Napoli might have a bit more fans than Roma. Armani makes us unique, says La. Yeah, but look, Armani was there before the Scudetto. What I'm trying to say is that the Scudetto didn't bring any kind of economic benefits to Napoli in terms of new sponsors or anything like that. Okay, maybe it brought some extra shirt sales, right? But I think we're getting to the point with Napoli, that we already sell a lot of shirts to people that are fans. Like if you're a Napoli fan, you're buying a shirt. So I don't know. I don't think we sold that many to people that are non-Napoli fans. I don't think the average random football guy went and bought a Napoli shirt that year. So how much more really did De Laurenti sell? I don't know. It would be interesting to take a look at the numbers. So yeah. So guys, I wanna speak about Antonio Conte. Um, let's see his press conference, guys. Let's see what he says, and then I think we can call it a bit of a day, also because it's late Sunday night, guys. Long day. So Antonio Conte says, I was listening to Mancini. Maybe while he was on the field, he saw a completely different game than us because he said that we didn't have any chances, whereas that's not true. But, anyways, a draw against Roma is fine. It's also very nice to see their satisfaction following the draw. It means that we are doing something important. If they're so happy to tie against us, we could have done better in our in their final chance. They did the exact same goal they did in the cup, and it kind of annoys us because these are details that are important and we didn't take care of. So surely there's a bit of a sour taste in our mouth, but it's part of the growth journey that we're on, and it's still one extra point that we have in the bag. So let's just keep doing what we're doing. Um, and he goes back to speaking about last year. He says, look, there was a lot of issues last year. We have one more point now than we did in the entire of last season with 15 games still to go. When last year we had a bad year, it's not because of bad luck. There were some fundamental issues that we are trying to resolve, both from a sort of mental view but also tactically. Now we're a team, so let's be happy to the fact that we are where we are. It's okay to draw against Roma. 7 points against Juve, Roma, and Atalanta is okay. Let's just now reset and think about the future. But these players are doing a great job. And then they ask him, should we have maybe tried to close off the game earlier? And Conte says, yeah, we should have. We should have closed the game earlier, and we should have closed the mercato earlier. Um, so Conte, Conte doing shots like taking shots at Napoli. It's like, yeah, maybe we should have closed off the game earlier, but maybe we should have also closed off our mercato earlier and actually bought some players that could have helped me do that. Yeah. Um, and he says, look, I saw that this year the mercato ends on the 3rd of February, 3 days later than it did before. For us coaches, this is a very bad situation because it creates a lot of instability. I would say for Conte, it's a very good situation for us this year because we need all these extra days to close off some deals, guys. But maybe had the Mercato closed on the 31st of January, Napoli would have let go of Garnacho and Adeyemi 3 days earlier. We would have started on St. Maximin 3 days earlier. We would have finished it on the 31st of January. And now, on the 2nd of February, we would have had him available and on the field. And he would have maybe made an impact and a difference. And maybe the result would have been different. So, maybe Conte's right. Maybe if you just condense everything to a shorter time span, like why can't the Mercato just be, 10 days? You know? just put everybody in a room together, 10 days, solve it, you know? If you can make the deal happen, great. If you can't, you move on. That would be great also for us fans, I think, because I mean, it sucks when one of your players like leaves on the last day and you have no way to replace him. Um, Guys, that is Conte. Look, I I said what wait, that was Conte to that zone. Then there's the Conte at the press conference, and he says, "Surely we could have done better. We watched that situation, a very same situation, 10 or 12 times in the video, but you know, in the final minutes of the game, they didn't have anything to lose. It's obvious that they would have just, you know, put the ball in the box, and you know, we should have done much more." But yeah, let's not forget how good Roma is at home. Before this game, they had 23 goals scored and 3 conceded in the last 7 games. So let's not forget the reality in which we're in. And we've been doing very well so far. And then they ask him about Raspadori and Simeone, and he says, "Look, I decided to put Jack next to Giovanni to try to keep ourselves not too deep. But you know, maybe that didn't quite work. As I said earlier, right? I don't think that was the right sub to make. I don't think Jack Raspadori is the type of guy you want to bring on when you're away from home and you're trying to keep a lead. I would have buffed up the midfield a bit more. But guys, look, that is that is everything from me. It's late. It's 2 minutes to midnight. A lot of us have to go to work tomorrow and all that good stuff. So I promise that the next live will be a full, you know, with the desktop and the screenshots and all that, you know, the comments at the bottom of the screen once again. And yeah, maybe I find the time as well over the next few days to make my assessment of the transfer market. Maybe not just Napoli, but also if I see, maybe I'm thinking maybe also, you know, assessing Atalanta and Inter, because you know I think it's important to see how the others did as well. Maybe I do a bit of a video on that. But guys, that's all from me tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't worry about this result. It's fine. It's just a draw away from home against a very good team. Next one, we'll bounce back, I'm sure, guys. And good night. As always, Forza Napoli sempre. Ciao.